Okay, still in chapter 14, we're going to move away now from bonds and look at an installment note. Let's take a look at exercise 1421. And let's read through it. LCD Industries purchased a supply of electronic components from Intel, not spelled with an I, if you'll notice. So not like the one we're familiar with, but Intel Corporation on November 1st, 2016. Okay, so they're purchasing some inventory. Maybe raw materials inventory is what we would call it, in managerial accounting anyway. And in payment for the $24 million purchase, LCD issued a one-year installment note to be paid in equal monthly payments at the end of each month. These payments include interest at 12%. Okay, and then they want the journal entry for LCD's purchase of the components on November 1st, 2016. Then the journal entry for the first installment payment on November 30th, 2016. And then they want to know the amount of interest expense that it'll report in its income statement for the year ended December 31, 2016. We'll probably make the entry, or we will make the entry for the December 31 payment as well. I think that'll make our interest expense a little easier to calculate. But first, let's start with instruction 1. On November 1st, 2016, and I'm not going to put the year since we're in the same year, the entire problem. Your book called the Asset Components Inventory. I'll go with that. What you're probably more used to would be raw materials inventory or materials inventory. Either way, it's an asset. And not only is it an asset, it's inventory of parts that we're going to use in making a bigger product. It's what I would call raw materials inventory, but either name's fine. Just don't get too hung up on that. You're probably thinking you weren't hung up on it to begin with. That was just me. We're going to credit notes payable. They've instead of paying for it up front, they didn't buy it on account. There they'd be paying within probably 30 to 60 days with no interest. Instead, the company they bought from financed the purchase for them. So they borrowed the money from the company they bought from, and they're going to pay them back the money plus interest. They actually bought $24 million worth of component inventory. So they must have a fairly successful product they're using those components to produce. LCD makes me think of televisions. Anyway, okay, that takes care of the entry where they made the purchase. Now on November 30th, they're going to make a payment. Well, the first thing we need to do is calculate the amount of the installment payments. And this is going to be something a little bit new for you. They say what the payments, LCD issued a one-year installment note to be paid in equal monthly payments at the end of each month. These payments include interest at the rate of 12%. So let's come over here. Calculation of, I just called it monthly installment payment. So calculation of our monthly installment payment. I'm going to come here to knock it out. Okay, now we could include this over here. Our interest rate, they'll say I, you'll see them say I equals a lot in your book. That's how I'm going to do it. I for the interest rate. I don't know why it's making it a capital letter. I equals, well, what is it? What is the interest rate per payment period? Well, it's 12% for a year. They're making a payment every month. So the interest rate per month is 1%. hope that makes sense. I think it should. And N, which is your number of interest payment periods, would be 12 months in the year, right? Okay, now we're dealing here with an annuity, equal cash payments over time. That's bugging me. Can I space that and the I not go cap? Nope. I have to do it that way, huh? Okay. Alright, so the interest rate's 1%. The number of periods are 12. And we're dealing here, the payments made at the end of each month. So we're dealing here with an ordinary annuity. So what we're going to have to do here, you guys, is go to our ordinary annuity table. That's what we're dealing with, like we talked about. The payments are made at the end of each period, each month in this case, and they're equal payments over time. So we'll go to our table on page P-4. Present value of an ordinary annuity, we will come across the top to 1% and down to 12 periods. We get 11.25508. Okay. So I'm going to say move this around a little bit. I'm going to say our factor is equal to 11.25508. And that's from the table, present value of an ordinary annuity. Okay, now we're going to take this factor, the 11.25508, and we're going to divide that into the amount of the note, the $24 million. So here our calculation of our monthly payment will be equal to our $24 million divided by our factor, which was 11.25508, and let's make that a dollar amount. Okay, so we get $2,132,370. That's how much that the what was it, LCD, I believe. I'll get back to my page here. That's the amount of the payment that LCD will have to make every month for a year. Well, better them than me, huh? Or you too, probably. So remember, in the problem, they said, payments include interest at a rate of 12%. Well, it's 1% per month. So our interest expense on November 30th is equal to our $24 million times 0.01, or 1%. So that's $240,000. Okay. Now we know we're going to credit cash because we're paying out cash of $2,132,370. We know we're going to need to debit something else, though, so I'm going to leave a space for it. We're going to credit cash for $2,132,370. And that difference will be the principal portion of the payment, which will be debited to notes payable. So the debit to notes payable would be equal to the payment minus the interest portion. $1,892,370. Okay, you guys, so that takes care of the first instruction with this journal entry. Takes care of the second instruction with this journal entry. Now with the third one, they want to know the amount of interest expense for 2016. Well, I thought I'd just go ahead and make the December journal entry. And then we can just add the two interest expense amounts together. And we'll have that number. The accounts affected are the same. Okay, interest expense is going to be equal to the original note payable amount minus the part that we paid off at the end of November times 1% for the month. So $221,076. Okay, well, the credit to cash, remember it's equal monthly payments, so it stays the same, $2,132,370. So notes payable would be equal to the payment minus the interest expense. That's the part that will decrease the note, and that's $1,911,294. Okay, so now our interest expense for 2016 associated with the installment note Okay, sorry, I had to stretch that over a couple rows. Alright, our interest expense for 2016 associated with the installment note. Well, that's easy now, you guys. Well, we just take our interest expense from November plus our interest expense from December. And we get what? Let's get it formatted here. What do we got? $461,076. That's interest expense for 2016 associated with the installment note that we're working with here. The tricky part, you got to figure out how many interest, what the interest rate is per interest payment period. How many interest payment periods we have. Well, there's 12 months in a year. We're paying one payment each month, so 12 periods at 1%. Then you find that factor and divide it into the amount of the note. And that gives you the calculation of the monthly payment. It's kind of interesting to me. A neat little problem. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I don't think you'll have any trouble with this one on the Connect Plus site. Thanks a lot.